Vin Diesel and Family First campaign. Vin Diesel drives a truck full of supplies, braving the storm to reach poor villages in remote areas. He distributes relief goods while embracing each child, whispering, "Family isn't just blood. Family is when we stand together against adversity." A day, the rain fell. I never believed in fate until that day. The day when the whole city seemed to crumble under a raging storm. The day the weakest among us were forgotten. Texas, April 2025. Water up to the knees. Roofs swept away by raging currents. Families torn apart. Hunger, disease, despair, seeping through like a fevered nightmare. I sat behind the wheel of a black pickup truck. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly it felt like I could crush it. My eyes stared straight ahead, at the flooded, broken, chaotic road. I wasn't a superhero. I didn't have magic. I just knew. If no one else would do it, I would. I pressed the gas pedal. The wheels spun in the mud, then roared to life. In the back of the truck, dozens of crates rattled. Clean water, food, medicine, warm clothes. Next to me, my phone kept buzzing. Messages from friends, teammates. "Vin, that area's too dangerous, don't go." "Vin, rescue operations need clearance and security. You can't just charge in alone." I smirked. Clearance? Clearance doesn't save kids shivering in the rain. South Point had once been a peaceful little community. Now, it was nothing but rubble. I pulled up to an open field, where hundreds of people huddled beneath torn tarps. A thin, weary-looking man ran toward me, his face etched with suffering. "Oh my God, it's Vin Diesel," I chuckled, pulling my cap down low. "Aren't we all the same right now?" I said, clapping him gently on the shoulder. The crowd surged forward, but not for autographs, not for photos. They needed food, water, hope. I popped open the truck bed and shouted, "One group at a time. Who needs medicine? Who needs baby formula?" Rough, calloused hands, starving children, mothers clutching infants to their chests. They moved forward, but with an eerie kind of order. Because when you're poor to the bone, you don't even have the strength to fight. A tiny girl, her hair matted with rainwater, tugged at my sleeve. "Mr. Vin, my mom's hurt. Can you help her?" I knelt down, looking her straight in the eye. "Lead the way, sweetheart." She led me into a makeshift tent of battered tarps. Inside, a woman lay curled up, her legs swollen and infected, burning with fever. I quickly grabbed antibiotics from the truck, cleaning and bandaging her wound myself. As I worked, the woman opened her eyes, whispering, "Vin, why are you helping us?" I smiled softly, my voice warm. "Family isn't just blood. Family is who needs you." She gripped my hand tightly. A tear slid down her hollow cheek. Night fell. South Point was swallowed by darkness, broken only by the flicker of flashlights. As I handed out the last of the medicine, a strange sound cut through the night. Motorcycles roaring, rough shouting. I frowned. Didn't take long to realize a gang was coming. They knew about the supplies. They wanted them. 3 motorcycles tore into the clearing, mud flying everywhere. The riders wore black leather, masks covering their faces, weapons glinting in their hands. One of them barked, "Drop all the supplies! Anyone who resists will regret it!" Panic rippled through the crowd. Children screamed. Women clutched their babies tighter. I stepped out in front of the supplies, standing tall. My eyes locked with the leaders. No words needed. One look said everything. He sneered. "Vin Diesel, huh? This ain't Hollywood. This is the jungle." I tightened my fists. "Then let me teach you something about jungle law, family law," he signaled. 2 of his men charged at me. I dodged the first one's swing, grabbed him by the collar, and smashed his face against the truck's hood. Before the second could raise his weapon, I swept his legs out from under him, sending him crashing into the mud. The crowd cheered, but the leader wasn't done. He pulled a gun and pointed it right at me. "Game over, Diesel." I raised both hands slowly and stepped closer. My left hand stayed high. My right hand secretly scooped up a rock the size of a fist. Just needed a split second. The wind howled past. I hurled the rock like a missile, slamming it straight into his wrist. He screamed. The gun flew from his hand, landing with a splash in the mud. I lunged forward, locking his arms, slamming him to the ground. He thrashed and cursed beneath me. I leaned down close to his ear, growling, "This is my family. You don't touch my family." That night, I sat with the townspeople around a makeshift fire. The cold wind cut through the air. Smoke swirled thickly. I sipped from a bottle of water, my eyes scanning the exhausted, worn-out faces. Yet somewhere, a spark of hope still lingered. The silent castle. The castle loomed under the endless gray sky, its tall spires and marble walls soaked in cold mist. Inside, it wasn't knights or kings who ruled, but women of wealth and privilege, dressed in shimmering silk and perfumed with rare oils. And sitting among them was Vin Diesel. He wasn't there to be their lover or their champion. No, Vin Diesel came to this place seeking nothing but silence and wine. He sat by the grand fireplace, a goblet of dark red wine in hand, eyes half closed, deaf to the sweet voices calling out to him. For them, he was a prize, a beast to tame. For him, they were nothing but fleeting whispers in a life full of battles. He didn't belong to anyone, especially not here. The girl in the shadows. Among the rich women floated a small figure, Elara. She was young, with soft, hopeful eyes, dressed in plain gray cotton, her hair braided simply. A maid, nothing more. Her job was to clean the halls, polish the silver, and stay invisible. The noble women mocked her endlessly, calling her the rat, the ghost, the nothing. One evening, as Elara silently swept the floor near the grand hall, a heavy goblet slipped from a lady's hand and rolled across the floor, landing by Vin Diesel's boot. The women laughed. "Fetch it, rat!" one of them sneered. Elara bent down, trembling, reaching for it. But before her fingers touched the metal, a heavy boot pinned the goblet to the ground. She looked up, straight into Vin Diesel's eyes. He said nothing. He simply bent down, picked up the goblet himself, and handed it to her. The hall fell into a stunned silence. For the first time, someone had chosen her. The shield. From that night onward, things changed. Whenever Elara was near Vin Diesel, none dared to harm her. When someone shouted, he would only raise an eyebrow, and they would fall silent. When someone tried to push her aside, his towering presence would make them shrink back. He was her silent shield. But Vin Diesel didn't speak to her. Not a word. Not until one rainy afternoon, when he found her sobbing behind the kitchen, bruises hidden under her sleeves. He knelt down beside her, offered a battered leather flask, and said in a low voice, "Don't let them break you. They laugh because they're afraid. Afraid of anything pure, anything real." It was only a few words, but to Elara, it was enough to ignite something deep inside her, the plot to break him. The noblewomen soon grew furious. How dare a servant girl hold his attention, even for a moment? They devised a plan to humiliate Elara and to break Vin Diesel once and for all. During the grand masquerade ball, they accidentally tripped her in front of the entire hall. Wine spilled, dresses were stained, whispers turned to cruel laughter. Elara crumpled to the floor, face burning with shame. She waited for the punishment, the insults, but footsteps echoed across the marble floor. A heavy, steady stride. Vin Diesel. He walked straight past the noblewomen, lifted Elara up by the hand, and placed her behind him. Facing the stunned crowd, he said, voice low but thunderous, "You dress like queens, but your hearts are smaller than dust." Not another word was spoken that night. Vin Diesel turned, and Elara followed him, through the gasps, through the icy stairs, out of the hall. The chains fall. The castle had once been a refuge for Vin Diesel. a place to drown his memories. But now it felt like a prison. He couldn't stay, not after what he had seen. One night, as the clock struck midnight, he took Alara by the hand. No words, no promises, only a shared glance, full of understanding. They escaped through the servants' corridor, past the kitchens, down the hidden stairs behind the wine cellars. The world outside was wild and vast. The cold night air smelled of pine and freedom. Behind them, the castle loomed like a dying god. Born from ashes. They found shelter in an abandoned cabin by the river. There, among broken walls and creaking floors, Vin Diesel and Alara began to rebuild something invisible but precious: hope. South Point wasn't just a refuge anymore. South Point was a fortress. The next day, a tattooed thug rolled into the square on a motorcycle, clad in black. He stood before the crowd, yanked out a battered megaphone. "Listen up, you worms. You got two choices. 1, hand over South Point to Serpent's Cross. 2, die." Whispers spread like wildfire. Some people trembled. Some broke down in tears. I stepped into the square, locked eyes with him, voice cold as steel. "Tell your boss this. South Point bows to no one. We fight till our last breath." He sneered and sped off. South Point exploded in applause. But I knew the real storm was just beginning. 2 days later, the sky opened up. Rain poured like the heavens were trying to drown us. Mud everywhere. The world pitch black. Then, engines, roaring like beasts, tearing through the night. I stood on the lookout tower, jaw tight. "They're here!" I whispered. Dozens of bikes, trucks, headlights flooding the slums like a spotlight on a stage. They revved their engines, waving weapons like trophies. South Point tightened its ranks. Martha stood ready with her medics. Dave, wielding a steel pipe, gave the engineers a nod. I clenched my fists. "Family first!" I shouted. "Family first!" The whole damn community thundered back. What followed made every action movie I ever filmed look like child's play. Molotovs arced through the sky, bursting into flames under the rain. We used everything we had: fire traps, pitfalls, spiked barricades. I barreled into their front line, knocking 2 knife-wielding thugs flat on their backs. From behind, I heard Ricky scream, "Vin! Left side!" I spun just in time, dodging a blade meant for my ribs. Years of stunt training saved my life. We beat back the first wave, but South Point paid dearly. Some tents were burned to ash. A few were badly wounded. I knelt beside Martha, my hands soaked in blood, trying to stop a little girl from bleeding out. "Vin," she whimpered. "I'm scared." I squeezed her tiny hand. "Don't be. Family's right here. Always. Dragging this out would kill us." I made the call. We strike back. I handpicked a small squad, 10 of our strongest. We'd hit Serpent's Cross right at their heart. We tracked them through the night, silent as shadows. In the dark, I whispered, "Not for glory, not for fame. This is for family." Heads nodded. The raid was brutal. I went toe-to-toe with their leader, a mountain of a man, tattoos crawling over his skin, eyes wild from too many drugs. We clashed like 2 animals, fists, knees, headbutts. I felt my knuckles crack when he landed a blow to my chest, but I didn't fall. I thought of South Point, the kids, the vow, family first. I roared back to my feet, swung a wild uppercut that smashed into his jaw. He crumpled, out cold. By the time we returned, dawn was breaking. The people of South Point poured into the streets, cheering like they'd seen the sun for the first time. I collapsed, utterly spent. But my heart, my heart was overflowing. South Point didn't just survive. South Point became a legend, a symbol of hope, a symbol of resilience, a symbol of family first. South Point was unrecognizable. Sturdy wooden houses replaced flimsy tents. A small medical clinic stood where rubble once lay. A school for the kids. I wasn't a Hollywood star anymore. I was Vin Diesel of South Point. Every morning, I sat with the elders, taught the kids their ABCs. Every afternoon, I fixed engines with Dave. Every night, we gathered around the fire, telling stories of the days we refused to break. When a journalist finally found me, he asked, "Vin, do you regret it? Leaving the fame to live in a slum?" I just smiled, watching the kids splash by the well, and I answered, "Fame fades, money disappears, but family is forever."